Hello and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday, November 15th, 2018, and this is episode 79. My name is Carol and I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry. The show notes for this and every episode can be found on the blog and also in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. If you'd like to get in touch, please do so via private message on Ravelry, by leaving a comment on YouTube, or by leaving a comment in the group, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today on another showery day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. Can't complain too much. We've actually had some beautiful sunny days this past week, but we're back to rain. Gray skies, dreary weather. On that note, let's just jump right into the giveaway that I am holding for the skein of Gauge Dye Works shawl striping in the April Showers colorway. There's a lot of yarn on here, 170 grams, 548 meters, so enough to make a beautiful shawl. If you would like to win this skein of yarn, please visit the Ravelry group. And there's a thread open there for this giveaway, and in it I would like you to tell me something good about rain or something good about a rainy day. Sometimes it's hard to see the silver lining in those gray clouds when you have day after day of rainy weather. So I figure might need a little cheering up. So leave a comment in that thread. You must be a member of the group to win, and you also are limited to one entry per person. I'm not exactly sure what my podcast schedule is going to be, but I'm going to close the thread just before I record my first episode in December, and I will announce the winner on that week's episode. I have to say, I have so enjoyed reading all of your thoughts about rain. I didn't mean to imply that I don't like rain, because many of the things that you people mentioned I also enjoy about rain, particularly lying in bed at night and hearing it outside. One of our neighbors is missing a downspout, and so when it rains a lot, the water just falls onto the pavement, that's the sidewalk that's underneath their gutter, I guess. And I just love that sound, and it kind of annoys my husband, but I personally really like that sound of running water. So I do think there are many good things about rain. I think when I talked about it last week, I had just sort of had enough. So yeah, so keep those coming. I really enjoy hearing your thoughts on rain, your good thoughts on rain. It's been a week of ups and downs, and one very particular down, which I'll talk about in a little while. I feel like this episode is going to be a little lower key than normal, but I did want to get it in here since I had a chance to record today. I have apologized. I so appreciate hearing from all of you this past week, and I have not yet responded to most of you, and I'm not sure when I'm going to get a chance to do that. But know that I've read your notes and messages, and I really appreciate hearing from you, and I promise I will respond as soon as I get an extended period of time to sit down at the computer and do that. It's also going to be a bit of a shorter episode, I think, because I don't have, well, I actually have 3 finished projects this week. I have a little bit of reading and just tell you what's been going on. First things first, I thought I'd talk about what I'm wearing. I'm really excited to be actually wearing this. It's my So Faded by Andrea Mowry, and I knit this. I started last spring, and I finished it in July, so it was too late to wear it for the season. I'm just going to kneel up on my chair so you can see the full effect of the fade. Probably not the most flattering shots, but here I am. This is made from 3 different colorways of Malabrigo Machita. The first one is Musas, the second is Wales Road, and then the third is Sherry. So there on my sleeve you can see the 3 and how they fade into each other. Those who have been watching for a while know that there was a little bit of trial and error that went into this sweater, and I had 2 skeins. I had this skein and this skein, and my third color was going to be a similar yarn from a different dye or manufacturer, which just didn't work out, and so I was able to track down another skein of the Machita that complemented these 2 colors, and I had started with this as my second color. I took all that out and replaced it with this, and I'm so happy I did. I just love how this sweater turned out. It fits really well. It's not itchy at all. By the way, my Birkin, the longer I wore it last week, the more comfortable it got, so I have high hopes for being able to wear that without a t-shirt underneath. I did wear this earlier this week with a t-shirt just because I needed the extra layer of warmth, but I can wear it no problem without that. Now, it is a single ply yarn. I can already see after only 1 full day and just this few hours this morning that it is going to be pilling some, but I have a gleaner, and I think, I don't think it'll be too difficult to keep it looking nice. But this is just the perfect kind of sweater for my lifestyle. I live in jeans and t-shirts or yoga pants and hoodies, and so this is a really casual sweater that's really comfortable, and I can definitely see myself getting a lot of wear out of it, especially when I need that little bit of extra warmth on a day like this that's overcast and damp. It just provides that little bit of extra warmth that a t-shirt doesn't. So I'm really, really happy to be finally getting some use out of it. Nothing special, just orange pekoe tea, but it feels good going down. So I think I said it. I have 3 finished projects. I had a busy house this week, had company. This is the first I've been alone in a week. And it feels really nice, although I enjoyed, I had my mom here for the week, and for a couple of those days she overlapped with my one of my brothers-in-law, and of course my husband. It was a long weekend this weekend, so he was home for 3 days. So yeah, it's quiet in here, and I feel like I need this day of catching up before we start it all over again, because we're leaving tomorrow. We'll be away for a few days, so it's nice to kind of just take advantage of a quiet house, do this recording. Hopefully it doesn't take too much editing, and then I can get a few things done in preparation for the weekend. So I've had only chance to knit on simple things, but that meant that I got several simple projects finished, so I'm really happy about that. The first are my happy hour socks, I call them. These are knit from West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the passion fruit colorway. That's the stripes. That's number, I wrote it down here, 811. And then I did the heels in a coordinating colorway, butterscotch, which is, I think it's 240. So that's the same yarn, just in a different colorway. I started these way back in the summertime, I think in July, and had the first sock done for a while. So it was, once I set my mind to it, it did not take me very long at all to finish them. In fact, I know I worked on the second sock while I was editing last week's podcast, because what I do is I watch it through, clip it together where I need to, add footnotes where I need to, things like that. But while I'm just watching it in the process, I usually knit. So that helped to get a good chunk of it done, and then I just had to finish it off and do the toes. So I've used this stitch pattern from the Vanilla Bean Socks by Emily O'Grady, and that just involves when you change colors on that first row, you slip one, knit one, and that gives this little kind of an interesting transition between the stripes. I know why it took me so long to finish. It's because you need really good light, because some of these colors are very similar to each other, so I would have to make sure I could see where the new color began. And also you kind of have to be, not just figure out where the new color begins, but also just keep in mind that new colors do begin frequently, and so it's just not one that I can knit and not really look at, where a lot of my plain vanilla socks I don't have to look at them much beyond when I start a new row, and the first stitch or two I usually will look down for. But I'm glad to finally be done. I think they're pretty. I've always, right from the get-go, I loved this colorway. I've seen it knit up on couple of different podcasts, and I'm really pleased to have finally finished my own pair. So that was good. And then another pair of socks that I've been working on are my Boo socks. They're from the Sea Turtle Fiber Arts Ridley sock in their Streckles patterning sock. Or part patterning yarn called, and the colorway's Boo, so they're Halloween socks. So you can see the colors are very Halloween, purple and orange and gray, and I literally just Kitchenered the toes yesterday morning, and so they have not been washed and blocked, and actually I think I'm going to have to just take out the toes. I think I've made them just a titch too long. And they're, for some reason too, they're, even though I did 64 stitches like I normally do for a sock for myself on a 2mm needle, they just feel a little bit looser than normal, and maybe I could have gotten away with 60 stitches. But too late now, they're done. So I think if I rip back the toe and start them maybe a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch, or maybe even as much as I started them after this gray stripe in here. I might even be able to take it right back to this orange stripe, redo the toe, and then because that will stretch them a little bit lengthwise, that should narrow out this part a little bit. You know how if you pull, it makes that a little bit narrower. But right now you can see it's quite bunchy. And I think that might help them to fit better. But so I'll probably work at that. Maybe I'll do that while I edit this podcast. But I'm going to call them done, so you'll see them. You won't see them again, other than FO photos whenever I get around to taking those. But yeah, I think they're fun. I love this colorway. It's just bright and cheerful, and really brightens up a gray day, that's for sure. Can't miss these ones. But yeah, they're fun. So that's done, or as good as done. So that's FO number 2. But I'm especially excited about my FO or finished project. You see, I will write FO in my show notes on my copy, but I actually prefer to call them finished projects because they're not just objects, they're projects. So that's usually how I refer to them. Although I know FO is obviously a very popular term. Anyway, I finished my time trades, and I have mixed feelings about that. I so enjoyed this project. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed knitting this project, and so part of me is really sad that it's over. In fact, I kind of what do you call, stretched out the ending as long as I could. I could have finished it a day or two earlier than I did, and I purposely didn't because I wanted it to last a little longer. That's very unusual for me. Usually by the time I reach the end of a project, I'm done. But on the other hand, I'm really happy because it's just turned out, I think, so beautifully, and I'm really, really, really happy with it. So the yarn I used, it's Time Trades by Caitlin Hunter, and I used Bid Knit Craving Sweet Sock. I used the Tapas Bar mini set, and then I used for my main color one, I used Amethyst Brooch, and my main color 2 was Solomon's Robe. And I bought these yarns at Knit City, and I basically started very soon after. And so I've been enjoying this project for a good month, or yeah, probably a good month or so. So I'm going to just give you the drive. I always call it a drive-by. I don't even know. That's probably not a very good term, but because of the implications. But I will just see here in the beginning, you alternate your 5 colors from your mini skein set. And those who have been watching know that there was a little bit of knitting and unknitting that went on as I decided what order I wanted these colors to occur in. And then you introduce your main color 1, which is this one here. And then you have these large sections with the main color 2, which I just love. And then you finish up with some stripes of those 2 colors. I'm not 100% sure about my bind off. I wish I'd thought about it at the beginning and put more thought into choosing a cast on that I could mirror with a very similar bind off. And I didn't. So by the time I got to the end of the shawl, then I was looking for bind offs that would be loose enough, because it's a lace that needs to be stretched, but looked similar to my cast on. And I ended up settling on it's called a yarn over bind off, and it's from the book. I think it's called Cast On Bind Off. I will put the author's name and the title of the book here because I've left it in the living room. I'm not 100% sure about it, and I may end up taking it out and redoing it because I'm afraid it might be just a little too loose. You do a yarn over in between, you knit a stitch, bind it off, you yarn over, you bind off, you knit, stitch, bind off, you yarn over, bind off. So you barely have twice as many stitches on your knee or on your cast off edge or bound off edge as normal, even though they're smaller because the yarn over is a small stitch. So I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it maybe fans out a little bit too much. I'm not sure if you can get a really good idea. In the book it looked much tighter, but it was on just plain stocking stitch edge that they showed it, and I think having the lace makes a difference, and knitting this fingering weight yarn on a bigger needle than you normally would, say, knit a sock. I think that plays into it too. So that's a possibility, but for now I'm going to leave it and see how I like it before I decide for sure. So this shawl has a diagonal edge at each end. Other than that, it's a rectangle. So there's oh, and I see there's an end that didn't get snipped off right there. That's one drawback of this shawl, is there are a lot of ends to weave in. Not just because you have a number of actual color changes, but also when you reach this whole section, the whole middle and end section of the shawl, I was able on this end, let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, on the beginning of the shawl, I carried my yarns up the side so that I wouldn't have to weave in all those ends, and that worked really well because this whole section, there were even numbers of rows in each of the color sections, but once it changed to here, there were usually odd numbers of rows, in which case you couldn't carry the yarn up the side because you had to cut it, weave it in and cut it or cut it and weave it in, and then start at the opposite side of the shawl for the next time you use that color. So there was quite a bit of weaving in. I did it as I went, because I generally do that. I hate weaving in all the ends at the end. So that's a downside if you don't like to weave in ends. But I am just so thrilled. This is one I actually can see using as a scarf, because it's not so heavy and not so wide that it will be bulky. So you certainly could use it just as a stole to wrap up in. That's got plenty of width for that and plenty of length for that. But because it's so open, you know, I could see wearing it like, I mean, the diagonal end, it's a nice length, so I could see myself wearing it, say, like this. And I just bought a kind of a fake leather jacket that's about this shade of purple. So this is going to match that. I didn't know it at the time because I hadn't bought the jacket, but I think that will, I can see all this is showing. There, that's the right side. I could see myself wearing it as a scarf. And maybe I just thought of this. I have a fair bit of these two yarns left over. Maybe I'll knit myself a hat in this yarn, and maybe with a brim, who knows with that. But I could definitely make a hat too that would go nicely with that jacket. So yeah, very, 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 very happy with that finished project. Probably one that I'm been the most happy with in a long, long, long time. Just gonna stretch out a frame here to lay that over the end of the ironing board. I probably jiggled the camera in the process, but sorry. I am not a professional podcaster. If you haven't figured that out by now, there you go. So I have done some reading, mostly in the evenings before bed. Interesting. Well, I've been reading These Happy Golden Years by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and my book fell apart. That tells you how many times this book has been read over the years. And I am very, very close to the end, as you can see. And I have been reading my Little House series in conjunction with Pioneer Girl, which is the manuscript on which the Little House novels were based. It's an annotated biography or autobiography edited by Pamela Hill Smith. And if you've been watching, you've seen this before. And I did something different this time. I ended up reading the section that covers These Happy Golden Years before I read These Happy Golden Years, and I've normally been doing the opposite, reading the novel and then going back and reading the manuscript. One thing I did discover is that Laura Ingalls Wilder originally just had envisioned, I think, the last 3 books in the series as one, and then realized as she was writing she had enough material for 3. And also her memory was not always accurate as far as when certain events took place in real life. And so the last, especially like the last 2 books in the series, some events in the novel take place out of order to events that she describes in her manuscript, and it's just some confusion over, for instance, when she taught her first school, and yeah, just different family events. But it was I'm now at the end of the actual manuscript part, and I think the next section is just a conclusion, or I can't remember what it said. Yeah, a conclusion by the editor. And so once I'm finished, I'm going to read These Happy Golden Years, finish it. There's one more book called The First 4 Years that was published after Laura Ingalls Wilder's death. It was her original, I guess her first draft for the novel that was going to follow this one, and she never did end up publishing it. So it is quite different in style and tone than the rest of the Little House books, and that's probably because it didn't have her daughter's touch. They worked together to write the Little House series, and her daughter brought a lot of her experience as a writer into the writing of these books, and between them created the series, what made it what it was. If you read either author's, either Laura Ingalls Wilder's writing separate from the Little House books, and you read Rose Wilder Lane's writings, her daughter's writings separate, they have different styles, and yet together made these, they were great collaborators. At the time, it was not known that to the extent that Rose Wilder Lane lent her work to Laura's writing, and so Laura Ingalls Wilder was known for these books very well without people actually knowing how much influence her daughter had on the writing of them. So it's an interesting thing to learn years later. I didn't know that for a long time, but it's quite interesting. But I really think one without the other is not as good as both together. That's my opinion. So anyway, I'll finish up both of these books, plus the first 4 years. That's my next on my reading list, and then I'll go from there. I did not listen anymore to the Clockmaker's Daughter, just didn't have that chance this week with company in the house. I thought I might talk a little bit about what's up and coming, but the truth is I'm not really sure. That's what I'm hoping to do later today, is to take stock of what I have on the needles already that needs attention. I know my Downtown Mystery Socks are one of those projects, but I don't think that's going to happen this weekend. It's just not suitable for taking with me, in large part because they're supposed to be a Christmas gift for my husband, and I really don't want to work on them in front of him. I know I need to cast on a new pair of plain socks because, as I mentioned, I finished my Boo socks, so I'm out of plain vanilla socks. So that will be one thing. Knit Vent has begun. That is a pattern collection by Helen Stewart, and she has released, well, as of this morning, there's already 4 patterns from that collection that have been released. I've hardly had a chance to glance at them, and so those won't be happening this weekend either, but I am hoping to cast on at least one of the projects coming up. And also, I know I've talked a few times about the next pattern in the Handmade Sock Society that I have not, by Helen Stewart, that I have not yet cast on, so I would like to get those going too. Before the last pattern in that collection is released. We got yarn hints about it earlier this week, so I can't remember when it's being released. I have a feeling it's sort of around the beginning of December, so that gives me a couple weeks to at least put a dent in the other ones. So I don't know. I still have Shawl Society patterns I haven't looked at, haven't been working on. Well, the Ivy Over the Door, I still have to finish my, I think it's the Wick shawl. I think it's called Wick. And I haven't even hardly glanced at the latest pattern. I just feel a little bit overwhelmed with lots of things I want in it, and I just haven't had that opportunity. But so there, I've just talked about up and coming, but the truth is, as I say, I don't really know what's being cast on when, and you'll find out in my next episode. You'll see what I've been working on. Brings me to my week. It's been full, and I think I'll talk about the really crappy part first. just to get out of the way. We had a death in our family this past week, and a very surprising, shocking one, and very tragic. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law's oldest granddaughter, she was 16, was hit by a vehicle and killed last Thursday. And so, of course, that's shocked everybody. We only met her once. She, not that it matters, it's their granddaughter, but she was my sister-in-law's son's stepchild. And so they met her when she was, I think probably 7 or 8. And so she's been a part of their lives for that time, but she lives in a different province, and she's just not someone we've heard lots about her over the years, but we only have had one chance to meet her. She came out to Victoria to spend time with her grandparents 6 years ago, and they came over to the mainland to visit, and so she was here at our house as part of a family get-together, which we actually have a really great picture of. We don't always take pictures when we get together, and that time we set up the tripod and the timer and actually got a really great picture of everyone who was there at the time. I think we're just missing my one son out of our family during that. But anyway, it's although we don't personally know her well, won't mourn her loss in the same way as her closer family. We are just heartsick for her parents and siblings, and for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law who've just lost someone so special to them. She had talked about coming out in the fall. She was going to graduate this year and come and live with them and go to university. And I just can't imagine how this is going to turn their lives upside down. So, yeah, that's sort of been the overriding, in the back of my mind thing this week. Life must go on, and so I had last week been preparing for a family gathering here Friday night, and also my mom was coming to stay with us this week, and Cameron's other brother came and stayed with us for a couple of days. A friend of his is in hospice, and he wanted to visit with him. So it's just been lots going on, but some happy too. You know, I have to say, last Friday it was pouring rain, and I was just not in the mood for a party. But went through prep anyway. Oh, and that morning I had my new crown put in, and it was uncomfortable, and so I was kind of not feeling great about that, and then having to prepare for what's supposed to be a happy gathering, not feeling particularly happy. But my mom arrived sort of late afternoon, I guess, and we had people coming starting around 6:30. So once everyone started coming in, you know, it was good. It was good to be together for happy occasions, and got to meet my new great nephew. That was probably the highlight of this week. He's just so sweet and mellow, lovely baby. Hardly hurt him. He got passed around and never made a fuss, and just when he was awake, he just had his eyes open, looking around. So that part was really wonderful. The next day was the baby shower at my sister's house for my niece and the baby, and it was a very full house, and it was cool because my aunt, most of my aunts were there from my mom's side of the family. She has quite a large family. She has 5 sisters that are still alive, and 4 of them were there. and then other extended family members and my sisters and our daughters and things like that, and granddaughters. So it was really cool. Several, I guess there were 4 generations there, and yeah, Donna, my niece, was really touched by all the people and lovely gifts. I made her cry. She opened up my gift, and the first thing she saw was the sock monkey hat I gave her, and she started to cry. Told everyone that I had made her one and that she had gotten engaged in it. And I hadn't said the whole story is that she was in the hospital at the time. They were away at Christmas time visiting her husband's family, and she had been ill, and she had gone to the hospital, so she was there all hooked up to IVs and stuff, and her husband had planned to propose in a much more romantic setting, but instead proposed to her there. She said, yeah, how did I know? I looked like terrible, and had this hat on, my hair looked awful, and had this hat on covering it, and who knew that this was going to be like such a momentous occasion. Usually if you have a sense it might happen, you might look your best. So anyway, I was glad that she was so touched by receiving that little hat, and everyone thought the monster pants were really cute, so they were a big hit too. This week I've enjoyed spending time with my mom, and we played cards. She likes to do, well, we both like to do word puzzles, so she had brought some books with her, so we would kind of work on those together. And one day we went shopping and went for lunch and went to the casino and played there for a little bit. We actually came out ahead, so that's always a plus. We like to play together. We just find machines and take turns. And so yeah, we came out, so we each made $20, so that's not a bad way to spend an afternoon. And then I forget what night it was, just earlier this week, we had music on, and we were sitting in the living room after we had finished playing cards, and I had left the room, so I don't know exactly how the conversation went, but I think a John Mellencamp song came on our iPod, and Cameron mentioned that he was coming to the next city over last night, and said we had been to see him before with John Fogerty, and that was a great concert. And I guess my mom said she would like to go to it. She'd never been to that type of concert. She's been to see different singers, but never like a rock concert, and she liked the sound of his music, even though she didn't know any of it. So she said, I'm going to take you to the concert. So we looked, and it was almost sold out. There weren't a lot of seats left, but we got 3 together, and so we took my mom to her first rock concert last night. We took her out for dinner first, and then we went, and actually it was quite a different concert than the one we had seen before. Just, I guess, part of it, he has some new material since then, because that was quite a long time ago. And just, he played a variety of music, not just his hits we know from sort of the 80s and 90s, I'm not sure, 80s for sure, but some other styles of music. And he has a violinist that he's had in his band for a long time, and she, along with another longtime band member who does keyboards, she and this other guy played the accordion, and they did a whole medley of John Mellencamp songs, but it sounded totally different because of the fact that they were being played on a fiddle and an accordion. And so that was really cool. You kind of listen and you go, oh, that's like that song. So yeah, it was enjoyable. We did enjoy it. Got home kind of late, had a late night for sure, so I'm a little bit foggy this morning. I've also been coming down with something. I think I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've been fighting a little bit, I think, of a cold or a bit of a flu, a bit achy, and my ear has been hurting sometimes. And I don't know if some of it's connected to my dental work, because that's still not 100% back to normal. And anyway, just riding a little bit low energy today and gearing up for a weekend away. We had planned a few weeks ago to head over to Vancouver Island this coming weekend and spend time with my mother-in-law, and then stay a couple of nights with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And we weren't sure if they would still want us to come. Their granddaughter's service is today, and then they're flying home tomorrow, but they actually really do want us to come, and so we'll continue with those plans. And then our intention is to, on Sunday, drive up island and stay a night with my other brother-in-law and sister-in-law. That's still a little bit up in the air because my brother-in-law is out of town, and I'm not sure if he is going to be home by then. So that part of it's a little bit up in the air, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I have today kind of have to get packed and figure out my knitting. I really do. I need a project. And so yeah, that's how we'll spend the rest of the day. And Cameron and I'll actually have a dinner and an evening on our own for the first time in a week. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of reconnecting, catching up a little bit. So that'll be nice. Next week, I have no idea what the plan is for recording, so stay tuned. We were supposed to maybe be starting curling again next week, but it looks like it's been pushed to the following week. Actually, it was really nice on Tuesday. My curling team, we all got together for Appies and kind of reconnected before we hit the ice again. We haven't seen, most of us, other than my sister and I, we haven't seen each other since the end of March. So that was really good. And we're going to have a 5-person team this year, and that should work out well. There's a lot of people that travel, most of the team's retired and has various travel plans at various times. So having 5 of us will make it easier. We won't have to worry about getting spares quite as often as we did last year. So yeah, looking forward to a new year in a new rink. And who knows, maybe we'll win more than, I think we won 1 or 2 games last year. So maybe we'll do a little better this year if we're a little bit more cohesive, not so many spares coming and going. And before I say goodbye, I'm going to introduce a new segment. I thought of it last week after I'd recorded, and I know, I guess what triggered it is my discussion about finding something good about rain. Because sometimes we can get in a trap of looking at things negatively. Now, I'm generally a pretty positive person. I've been known to be called Miss, Susie Sunshine and all that. But so I generally do look at the glass as half full rather than half empty. But even I have my moments. And so I had forgotten about it. But when I opened my notebook to do show notes this morning, I found this little scribbled post-it note to myself. New segment, something good. And I had that song by Hermits going through my head, that something tells me I'm into something good. It's probably the only singing you'll ever hear from me on this podcast. Not my strong suit. Anyway, I thought I would introduce this new segment and talk about something good at the end of the podcast, so we will always leave things on a positive note. And it might be something big, it might be something small, it might be something knitting related, it might be something completely unrelated. I don't know, because this is only the first week. But immediately what popped into my mind for this week is something good is new babies. New life is always a good thing to celebrate. So excited for my niece and her husband. They are just glowing. This baby got passed around our family birthday get together. I got passed around the shower, and whether it be you know, my generation, my mom and her sisters, my nieces. My granddaughter was gonna hold him, but she was afraid that he was going to pee on her. And she was going to hold him then, even after we reassured her that, you know, he'd be wearing a diaper. I'm not sure what happened. She didn't get a chance to hold him. But she also was quite worried about the shower, that she was going to get wet. And she didn't want to get wet. So we had to explain that there was no water involved in a baby shower. But yeah, something good. New babies. They are a... Just what's bad about them? They just bring smiles to everyone's face and turn rough, tough men into pussycats. So, yeah, something good, new babies. And on that note, I will say goodbye. I don't know when I'll see you again, but hopefully it's not too much longer. Hopefully it's next week sometime. So take care until then. Hold your loved ones dear, because you never know what life will throw at you. So with that in mind, take care. See you soon.